All right, Fierce Challenger Series 9 is in the books as it concludes as one of the greatest Challenger Series, Zach, I think I have ever seen. Absolutely incredible showing by so many fighters. Ogden, Utah, we told them they were in for a treat, and it absolutely was one tonight.
That was the best Challenger Series we've ever had. That was the best crowd we've had. The fights were incredible. The prelims were out of this world. And some just really impressive performances as well in the on the main card. Super happy.
First fight of the night, Nakaya August and Mallory Melling. It kind of set the tone for the entire night, and Nakaya August gets her hand raised in the decision.
She, the areas that she wanted to grow in from her first fight to her second, she did. And so really happy for her. How tough was Mallory, though? I mean, she took a lot of heavy shots, and she stayed in there and stayed tough. Her first experience in there, now she has some things that she can work on. A lot like Nakaya, go from the first one to the second one. But I was super happy for Kiwi to see her be able to come out and perform the way that they felt like she could fight up to her potential a little bit better from her first fight to the second fight, and I think that she did that.
Standout performance by Brandon Ramirez as well, besting Tyler Harris in the second kickboxing bout. Your thoughts on the fighter out of St. George?
He looked phenomenal. He came out really aggressive. I watched his Muay Thai fight, his first fight, Muay Thai fight, and he just came out a lot more aggressive in this fight and was able to set a pace that and Tyler engaged in that pace, right? And they both went at it. And I think the way they were fighting, it was just going to be one of them. And I just think that Brandon, the pace was slowing down in the second round, but I think exhaustion was setting in. And that pace just isn't sustainable. Even in 2-minute rounds in kickboxing, it's just not. So, that's awesome to see Brandon's growth, and I'm excited to see Tyler's as well.
Did you get to talk to either of them after the fight?
I talked to Tyler for a while. This is part of the journey. I try and explain this to fighters all the time. The emphasis can't always be on winning, because if you're challenging yourself the right way, you're not always going to win. That's part of the martial artist journey, and it's learning how to come back. And we'll get in the room and get Tyler where he needs to. I mean, he was giving up a decent size advantage in this fight. Tyler walked in at 167, was having to overeat to try and stay close to 170. So I think Brandon's size, could have caused a factor in that fight. His aggressiveness, and I just thought experience in there, it showed. But Tyler has nothing to hang his head about, and we'll get him another fight maybe at a more appropriate weight class around 155, and I'm excited to see. Hopefully he can come back just like Brandon did from his first loss.
Nico Suascoon with the quick work over Mike Trunzo in the first MMA bout of the evening, and Nico Suascoon brought a crowd with him tonight.
I have a question. Nico Suascoon for Nicholas Braswell, anybody?
I love that.
I mean, that's two guys that the grappling that Nico brought in, how quick that shot was, so quick. It was ridiculous. And he hopped on Mike's back before Mike even knew what was going to happen. He was very, very quick, very composed, followed the game plan that Mike Jones and the team at Excite MMA had planned out for him, and got his hand raised, and Mike Trunzo just back to the drawing board, and you figure it out and get better.
Following suit for Excite MMA was Austin Cardone getting the win over Skylar Bernasconi. That was a wild fight because Cardone was struggling to find the range, but once he did connect, it was the only shot that really mattered, I should say, in the entire fight. He gets a win.
That's what's crazy with this game is I felt like Skylar was winning the exchanges. And but I was sitting right next to that blue corner, and Coach Horn kept telling him, tuck your chin, hands up, tuck your chins. And Skylar kept throwing these hooks like low, and it wasn't protecting his chin. And Austin found his chin a few times, but didn't seem to do it. But something happened where he just sat on a hook just right. He put it right on the button and put Skylar out cold. And, I thought very impressive performance for Austin to stay in there. I thought Skylar looked really good, though. I really did. And I love the energy he brings to the card, and I'm excited to have him back on another Fierce card in the future. Both of them, I thought, put on a great show.
Isaac Allen facing off against Austin Munoz. We said Austin Munoz was a firecracker. He lived up to that name.
Holy crap, did he? I mean, just the energy in that fight was insane. And at one point, they were even smiling at each other, like enjoying it, like just an old-fashioned slugfest. They did some really good things in that fight. Talked about it. I think Austin, work on his jiu-jitsu. Or not Austin, Isaac work on his jiu-jitsu a little bit. I think he missed some opportunities. He could have capitalized in that department, but he was there to stand and bang. And it was another fight where it was going to be one or the other. We just didn't know which. And Austin got his hand raised in his hometown, and that was a cool moment for him and for the crowd, and another great fight on these prelims.
High tides in both fighters' camps for that one. That was a lot of fun. Arjan Jerome faces off against Spencer Hansen, and Spencer Hansen wrestles his way to a win.
Well, when I look at that fight and Arjan was like, "I'm sorry," I'm like, "Don't be sorry. That's what happens when you take 7-8 years away." Spencer did just come off of a loss, but he was just in there like a few months ago in December.
Yeah.
So I think activity matters, and I think that showed. Spencer seemed a lot more comfortable in there. And the first time he got hit, I think with an uppercut, and he kind of settled in and got to his wrestling. And once he got to his wrestling, he got real comfortable in that fight. And Arjan just wasn't comfortable, and it looked it, and he just wasn't listening to his corners as well as I think he would have liked, and didn't stick to his game plan. That stuff matters when you don't stick to your game plan, and I think that when you see that. I'd like to see Arjan get back into the cage quicker rather than later, and get a little bit more active, and I think he could find some success there.
RJ Wilgar gets his hand raised in his 4th bout ever. Dominant performance and a dominant finish for the fighter out of St. George.
Dude, Nick, I will say this. He was doing some really good things in there, and he was letting his hands go. He was fighting long, and I would just like to say this is his 3rd fight since November, staying super active and doing some really good things there. Good for Nick, and I thought he had a pretty good showing, but RJ's a stud. The last time we saw him was on when I fought down in Crown in September, and he did get his hand raised there, and I hope he found a home with Fierce Fighting Championship, because I really enjoyed having him at the show. He is a fun, exciting striker in his own right, and he's somebody that I think could definitely make some noise at the welterweight division.
Sidney Blackwood versus Brendan Ferreira. Sidney Blackwood getting his hand raised. He went back to his old well of wrestling. He talked to me about that earlier on this week, that was something that he primarily got into martial arts for. He gets to use it because he's been primarily known as a striker.
I thought that's what he was, but even Brendan was like, man, he always wrestles, and except when he fought Derek Jorgensen and got a big head kick knockout. I thought he fought a very smart, safe fight coming off of a long layoff and an injury like that. I thought Brendan looked really good on the feet. I thought he was winning on the feet and winning those exchanges. But it's MMA. You have to be well-rounded, and one of the advantages when you're the better wrestler, you can take advantage of, winning those positions.
Hannah Silva gets back in the win column, 3 losses in a row facing this one. You could see a little bit more of an intense look on the walkout, and she gets her hand raised, headed out of Ogden, Utah.
Well, she wants her title back. I think that win, puts her right back into a title discussion. I think Haley was giving up a lot of size in that fight. I think it showed, but I thought Hannah looked as good as she's looked, and ready to get back to championship form. We'll see. We'll see what's next for the fighter out of St. George MMA.
Brendan Myers gets his hand raised over Jordan Munoz. That was one where it seemed as almost the two fighters were like magnets. They stuck to each other, and then we immediately had a grappling exchange, and that was the fight.
Brendan caught Jordan with a really nice straight 2, I think, right as Jordan threw a hook. And but yeah, I anticipated a little bit of a jiu-jitsu match in here, and I actually thought Brendan was hanging out too long in the triangle. I thought Jordan was landing some very effective ground and pound. I don't know. It was very interesting, but he got the job done. Super impressive for Brendan. I always applaud guys. you always are wondering what guys look like when they come back from being brutally knocked out the way he was. It shows to his mental toughness, preparation, and just his experience as a martial artist to be able to lose the way he did and then come back and win the way he did. Super impressive with Brendan Myers. Jordan, I think, very disappointed not to get his hand raised in his hometown like his brother. Just happens, whether it happened in the first minute or happened in the third round. I think you can get caught, but when you get caught in a submission like that triangle when you're dry early, it's really hard to work out of. So, I mean, on to the next for Jordan, I'm sure.
Hava Owens puts on, I think, an early contender for performance of the year. The volume and the output on this guy was something to behold.
What I can't believe, I had like 3 people come up to me during the fight, and one of them specifically that hasn't been to fights in a few years, and he said, "When did Nate Owens turn into this monster?" And I'm like, I know, he really has. The Nate Owens, when he cracked Joel Haro in Joel's pro debut, and Joel finished him with that guillotine, he was so disappointed. But man, he's skyrocketed since then. He's just turned into an absolute monster. And you saw it in that Vic Lipari fight. If that fight had 1-2 more minutes, Nate was going to win that fight too. And I can't say enough good things about Nate. I think he's an incredible human being. He's an incredible martial artist. I love watching him fight, and he's always got a home at Fierce. Like we love him here. Steven Steyerwalt, tough as nails. He was hurt in that first round, and what a gutty performance to be able to just bite down on his mouthpiece and just try. He just didn't have an answer tonight. I thought that was a phenomenal fight.
Julian Ruiz extends his win streak to 8. He moves to 4-0 as a pro, taking care of business against the visiting Desmond Manabat in the main event. Your thoughts on it?
I mean, Desmond came for it. What was that cartwheel kick? That was one of the coolest things. That's what I like about Desmond is you just never know what he has up in his bag of tricks, and he tried. But Julian, he's one of the best prospects in Utah and probably one of the best prospects in the entire region. Big call out for Fabio Sorrell. Really interested to see what we can do to make that fight happen, when it could happen. They want to Warren Weingardner versus Joel Haro-esque, 1-2 in the state, competing for a title. I think it's time we see Fabio and Julian fight for a Fierce Featherweight title at the Maverick Centers in one of the upcoming cards.
Well, with that, April 20th, UCCU Center, that is going to be an incredible card. Zach, Fierce Challenger Series 9 absolutely delivered. Cannot wait for Fierce Fighting Championship 31. Any thoughts on that card coming up?
I mean, you've got to really get on your tickets early on that one. Get on your tickets early on that one, because the return to UVU and the UCCU Center, where the showdown used to be, is going to be so anticipated. That card, tickets go on sale Monday at 10 a.m. FierceFightingChampionship.com. It's going to be incredible. We have a stat card. We have 2 pro title fights, 2 amateur title fights. Jackson DeGray defends his title. Mike Jones defends his title. Jerome Hatch defends his title. Kent Mafaleo's back. Cole Schaefer's back. The card's huge. It's going to be awesome.
Cannot wait for it. We will see you all in 4 weeks.